Once again, the objective for today, I can solve multi-step one-variable equations involving proportions. Tell your neighbor what concept we're still on. What concept? So, since we already know the definition, we don't need a fair model for one-variable equations. How about the steps? Do we still know the 4 steps that we've been using? Simplify, isolate, plot, and check. Okay, so we got that. So we don't need a fair model. We don't need the steps. Okay? What I do need to go over is some terms before I get started with going over this part. Line your utensils down, look up to the screen. Here goes the first term. The first term that I want to talk about is called a ratio. Look up. A ratio. A ratio is when we compare 2 quantities. There's 3 ways of writing a ratio. Here goes the 3 ways. If I say ratio of A to B, this is one way of writing it. A to B using words. Another way of writing it is A to B using notation. And another way of writing it is A to B using a fraction form. Are we there so far? So how many different ways can we write it? 3. So if I was to give you the following ratio, 2 to 3, tell your neighbor how to write that as other ratios. All right, here it goes. You should have written 2 colon 3 or 2 over 3. Hands if you got that. Okay. Before we continue, it's Isabella's birthday on 3. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you, cha cha cha. Happy birthday to you, ha cha cha. Happy birthday, dear Isabella. Happy birthday to you, and many more. All right. So, any questions with ratios? All right, so we got this. Pay attention, please. Here goes the next one. Look up. The next one I want to introduce is called a proportion. Now we're comparing 2 ratios. Notice that one of the ratios was a fraction, right? But how many fractions do we have now? 2. So when you compare them by putting an equal sign out, they're called a proportion. A proportion has 2 ratios, one equal to another. Are we there so far? All right. Now there's another special type of ratio where we compare 2 different measures that is called a rate. Look at this one. A rate has 2 different measures of units. So this one would be 34 miles for 2 gallons. Are they using the same units? No, this is in miles, which is distance, and this was in gallons, which is fluid. They're 2 different measures. Does that make sense? Have you guys also heard miles per hour? Miles being distance, hour being time. They're 2 different unit measures. Are we there so far? So this is what we call a rate. A rate. However, look, when they give you such a rate as this one, 34 miles for 2 gallons, this one can be reduced to lowest terms. When you reduce something like this, it's called a unit rate. Why? Because there's 17 miles for how many gallons? 1. That's why it's called a unit rate. So right now we're going to be looking at all these. I just wanted to make sure I get the terms out of the way. Everybody with me? Okay, copy this column, please. Example 1A. No, just copy the black and blue text, please.
Oh, okay. That's what you said.
It says, example 1A, the ratio of number of bones in a human's ears to the number of bones in the skull is 3 to 11. There are 22 bones in the skull. How many bones are in the ears? Copy that. If you have your colored pens, get those ready because we're going to need them. Okay? Copy that. All right, here we go. It says, once again, example 1A. The ratio of number of bones in a human's ears to the number of bones in the skull is 3 to 11. There are 22 bones in the skull. How many bones are in the ears? So, first of all, I'm going to start with the color red. Which is the first set of information that they mentioned? The bones in the what? In the ear. So I'm going to box ears in red. Okay. I'm going to switch to green. What is the second set of bones that they mentioned? In the skull. I'm going to box the skull. Now that has something in particular. Which is the first one that they mentioned? The ears, and then they mentioned the skull. In that same order, tell your neighbor, look at the ratio that they give us, tell which number corresponds to which, please. All right, let's see. Isabella, R, which one corresponds to which? The ears go to the 3, and the skull goes to the 11. Everybody agree with that? Yeah, that's why I wanted to mention first what is mentioned first, what second, because it matches the ratio that they give us. So after we match it, now we can make a fraction of a ratio. So let's use a fraction to make this a ratio. So how can we write that as a fraction? 3/11. But now, since they want us to find something else, we're going to create a proportion. That means that it's an equal to another fraction, right? So let me read the last part. It says, there are 22 bones in the skull. So tell your neighbor, where should I put the 22, please? Okay. Cooper, where should I put 22? On the bottom. Why did you say on the bottom? Because the other bones for the skull are on the bottom. That is correct. Therefore, which is the only one that we don't have? The ear, so we were going to label that X. Okay? Writing utensils down, look up to the screen. So now, we know how to solve these equations because of the basic steps that I gave you. Writing utensils down, look up to the screen. And I said, whenever you have the variable by itself, you use inverse operations. What is the inverse of dividing by 22? Multiply times 22 each side. Is that correct? All right. But for right now, pay attention, please. I do not want you to use that method. I'm going to go one step back. I'm going to start all over. I don't want you to use that method for proportions because there's a shortcut. Everybody ready? This shortcut, you probably already heard it from your teachers before. But what I'm going to do when you have a fraction equal to another fraction, you can use something that we call cross multiply. So check this out. And I always start with a variable. What is 11 times x? 11x equals, what is 3 times 22? 66. And does that look familiar? Yes. Divide by 11, divide by 11, and we're left with x equals 6. Am I done? No. We need to answer the question. How many bones are in the ears? There are 6 bones in the ears when there are 22 bones in the skull. Copy that, please. And Q. Fairly simple? Yeah, right? Okay, here goes again. You are given a word problem talking about a ratio. The first thing that we do is identify what is mentioned first, what is mentioned second, because that matches our ratio. Is that correct? Next step, once we get our ratio, we make it into a fraction of a ratio. And then from there, we create a proportion. Are we there so far? Next, we fill our proportion with the rest of the information, cross multiply and solve, and answer the question. Everybody got it? All right. You're going to do one by yourself. Here we go. Example 1B. Instead of copying the problem, I'm just going to box the information. Ready? It says, the ratio of red marbles. What should I box? So I'm going to box that in red. To green marbles. What do I box that in? Green. There it is 6 to 5. Tell your neighbor which one corresponds to which. red is 6, and green is 5. Then it says there are 18 red marbles. How many green marbles are there? Okay, now that you have the information, I want you to set up your proportion, solve, and write a statement for your answer. Ready? Copy that and go. Okay, let's see. Can you give us the proportion, please? Isabella, R. 6/5 equal 18/x. Hands, have you got that? That is correct. Cross multiply. 6x equals 90. Last step. Divide by 6, divide by 6. X equals 15. Can you give me the statement, please? Go ahead, Isabella, R. There are 15 green marbles and 18 red marbles. 10Q. Hands, have you got something like that? Okay, not bad. We got this, yes?
Yeah.
All right, do me a favor, get the study guide out from yesterday, that play sheet that they gave you. And I want you to go over problem number 22. Number 22. And that is very similar to the one we just did. All right, here we go. Yeah, the chainsaw one. Okay, can you read us that problem, please, loud? Go ahead, Isabella, R. Yeah. Okay, it says. Oil, they mentioned oil and gasoline. Okay? 5 to 18 is the ratio. Okay? 54 gallons of gasoline. And they're asking for how many ounces of oil. Is that enough information to set up your proportion? All right, set up your proportion, solve, and write your statement, please. Copy that and go. All right, let's see. Justin, proportion, go.
I don't know it. I don't know it.
We'll look at the information.
5/18.
5/18 equal
54/x.
Cooper. 5/18 equal 'Hands, have you got up to right there? That is correct. Remember that the first thing they mentioned was oil. That means the 5 is the oil. This is the oil. This is the oil. Gasoline is the second thing. That means 18 is the gasoline. That means that gasoline goes down here. So far, so good? Cross multiply. That becomes 18x equals 5 times 54. That's 270. Is that correct? Okay, I'll finish. Divide by 18. Divide by 18. X equals 15. Are we done? No, the statement should read, there are 15 what? Ounces of oil to 54 gallons of gasoline. 10Q. Yes? Yeah, hold on to it, because I didn't collect it for the first period, so I'm just going to wait till Monday. Yep. All right. So, any questions with the setup for proportions using the word problem? All right, let's move on. So, look up, please. So if I was to give you one that was not a word problem, such as this, look up, please. Don't copy this. Look up to the screen. Do the first step in your Moodle. Second step. M equals, tell your neighbor, please. We got M equals 15. That is correct. Cross multiply is 3M equals 45. 3 divided by 3 and 45 divided by 3, M equals 15. We got this, yes? Okay, same thing with this one, right? Cross multiply and so on and so forth. Let's kick it up a notch. Copy this one, please. Copy this one, example 3A. Solve the proportion 6 over y minus 3 equals 2 over 7. Okay, let people think. I'm gonna ask some questions to get your noodle moving. Here it goes. Look what we did on the previous two. Look up, please. We have a proportion. What did we do? Cross multiply. We have a proportion. What does that mean? A fraction equal to a fraction. We did cross multiply. We have a proportion. A fraction equal to another fraction. Talk it over to your neighbor. Let them know what would you do with that one, please.
You got -6, and then you get -6 y, and you got 14. I got 8.
Let's see. Hold on. Let me get you started. There you go. All right. Hazel, what shall we do? Where do I start? With a variable. So I cross multiply this way. So tell me what to write. Hands if you got that. That is correct. Who notices that now we have two terms here? And it's kind of like distributing, right? 2 times y and 2 times -3. So that becomes 2y minus 6 equals 42. Yes, Connor. You got it? Okay, here it goes again. We multiplied, right? Let me write it out. 2 times y minus 3. You guys see it now? So it's like distributing. All right, let's continue. What do I do from there? Plus 6 plus 6, 2y equals 48. And last step, divide by 2, divide by 2, y equals 24. Are we there? All right, do this next one by yourself. Here we go. Example 3B. Example 3B, and the proportion is g plus 3 over 5 equals 7 over 4. Copy that and go. All right, help me out with this one. Marco, go. What do I do? Multiply 4 and g and 3, so what do I get? Plus 12 equal to what? 35. Hands if you got it right there. Continue, Marco. Minus 12 minus 12, and that gives us 4g equal to 23. What do we do? Divide by 4, divide by 4, and that gives us g equals 5 3/4 or 5.75. Hands if you got that. Okay, we're good with this, yes? All right, let me go to something else. Yes, Justin. Before we crank it up a notch, let me take a little side step. Let's go to something that we call, once again, unit rate. So watch. Don't copy this. Just pay attention. It says, Ralph Lau, Germany, flipped a pancake 416 times in 120 seconds. Can I make a ratio out of that? Yes, 416 over 120. But they want us to find the unit rate. That means I need to make a proportion. What does that mean? That 416 flips in 120 seconds. So what do I need to make a 1, Helena? Okay, Ethan. Very good. The seconds into 1. Because we want to find out how many flips and how many in 1 second. That's what we call what? The unit rate. So therefore I put here what? X cross multiply, that's 120x equals 416. And I solve, divide by 120, divide by 120. We end up with x equals 416 divided by 120. It's in there 3 times, that's 360. 56, add a decimal. I'm going to add a decimal here, so that's 4 times. That's 48. That's 80. And I'll stop right there. That's 3.4. 3.4 what? Flips in 1 second. So this person flipped a pancake 3 and almost half turn a pancake in 1 second. Let's see, let's try it. Go like this. Let's see. Imagine you have a spatula, and I'm going to do 1 Mississippi at the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1 Mississippi. Sure. You could probably do... This is real. Yeah. I have no idea. Anyways, we get the idea, yes? All right, so pay attention. Focus. Last part, because I want to get you guys out of here before the bell. Ready? It says percent. Percent is a compound word. Does everybody know what that means? Compound words are 2 words made into 1. So this word is actually 2 words. So pay attention. The symbol for percent is as follows. Everybody seen that before? Yes? So now check this out. The word percent is broken down into 2. Per means multiplied by or times. The symbol that we use is a multiplication sign. The last part is known as cent. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, we've seen that here. Why? Because cent means that it's, how many of these in a dollar? 100. So if we write it in decimal, it's 0.01, and in fraction form, it's 1 out of 100. So the symbol for percent actually means times 1/100. Does that make sense? Once again, the symbol means times 1/100. That's why when we write 25% is the same as saying 25 times 1/100, which makes it what? 25 over 100. Now, in the past, your teachers just said, just write it over 100. You guys remember that? Okay, but now I'm explaining why we do it. Did you get that? All right, I want you to write the next proportion, please. Write this down on your paper, please. This one is over of equals percent over 100. You probably heard this before already. All right, so this is basically a shortcut for any problem that has percentage. Is over of equals percent over 100. Do you guys see that it's a proportion, a fraction equal to another fraction? Is over of percent over 100. Let me show you how it works. Look up, please. Is over of equals percent over 100. So watch. I'm going to use this to create a proportion. Which is the only one that doesn't move? The 100. What do they give me?
30, 80.
Of 80. Where does that go? The bottom right here. And 30% goes where? On top. So which is the only one missing? X, cross multiply, and solve for the percentage. Does that make sense? So your home plate for tonight, I'm going to give you a Nearpod code so you can look at the study guide on Nearpod. So here's the code. Give me a second. You don't have, I know you have internet, right? Okay. Yeah, you live in a pineapple under the sea. All right, there it is. NSWJU go to Nearpod. The study guide is in there. And if you need to, once you're done practicing by yourself, I included 2 videos that solve all the problems right after. So you can look at those. Have a good one, guys. Enjoy your home play. See you guys. Tamales. Bye. Oh, my bad. Come Monday. There, let's go. From the corner. Bye.